You are watching All Things Real Estate and More with AnnRileyCaldwell, with a brand new episode on divorce situations.
Hey, I'm AnnRileyCaldwell. I'm a local realtor here in Nashville, Middle Tennessee area, and I'm with Rowland from Signature Title, and we're talking about all kinds of fun topics, trying to get homes bought and sold, and getting people into them, buyers into them, sellers out of them. So one of the things that she runs into, and I as a realtor run into, and trying to help people is divorce situations. So again, we have to be a little careful. I'm an attorney in California, not Tennessee, and she obviously knows a lot of stuff, being a title company. Longtime title company representative. So we want to bring up a few topics, things that we feel like we can talk about, and just some questions that people should be asking if they're in that situation. So divorces, there's easy ones and there's hard ones. Right. There's emotional ones and ones that everybody just agrees on everything and they're easy. But a lot of times people who are getting divorced own property together, often the house that they have lived in. And that obviously has to be resolved ultimately in the divorce as to who's going to own it. So let's talk a little bit about the questions that come up and things that people should be looking at if they are currently going through a divorce, but the divorce is not final yet, but they want to go ahead, if they can, and sell that piece of property ahead of time.
So the most important thing in a divorce situation is that it is disclosed at the time of contract. And when we receive the contract, it's disclosed to us so that we can start our process. If the couple is they're still legally married, they're not legally divorced yet, and they're both willing to sign at closing, it's not necessarily a problem. The only difference would be the splitting of the proceeds. But if they are going through a divorce and will potentially be divorced officially by the date of closing, that could be a little tricky as well. We could need things like marital dissolution agreements, final divorce decrees. Some of them are very plain and simple that say so-and-so gets the property and the assets are split 50-50. Some are very tricky where it comes to, a judge says, well, this person needs to pay $10,000 from the proceeds to pay for repairs or this or that. So they can be very complicated. And that's another reason why we have our attorneys review those things. But the most important thing is that it's disclosed to us, and any paperwork involved in that divorce is given to us at the time of contract so that we can let you know up front.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't do any good for those who are tempted to not go ahead and tell us ahead of time, because all we're going to do is get the day before closing and have everything start falling apart.
Yes, yeah. And it's important too. I've had people before who get divorced, but they never actually get their spouse removed from title. They just say, well, we got divorced. Maybe they even got a divorce decree online and didn't use an attorney. So there's a good chance that ex-wife or husband would also have to sign at closing even if they're divorced. Right. So it's just important to disclose all of it up front.
Yeah. And even with a divorce, let's say that a divorce decree comes down. Then at that point, you're making determinations, potentially talking to the divorce attorney, just making sure that we know which party has the right to sell the house, where the proceeds have to go. Because it is possible that some of that money, because of the distribution of the other assets, it might be a forced situation where somebody's having to sell the house and the money is going to get split in a certain way, correct?
Sure. There's even times to where we have to just pay proceeds out to the divorce attorneys and let them essentially distribute it because of disputes like that.
Okay.
One thing that's important I just want to touch on is divorces are also important when you're purchasing. A lot of times people think it's just because they're selling, but people are getting divorced and buying homes too. So if you are not officially divorced and you're going through a divorce, it's also important that we know that, because if you're still legally married in the state of Tennessee, there are some provisions for that, some things we would have to take care of.
Yeah, I have some clients who are waiting to get divorced before they buy something, just because they don't want the issues of, or they don't even want their spouse to know that they're going to be doing that. So those, again, when they tell me, I can be more helpful. Anyway, never hesitate to reach out to us and ask us.
Yes.
Better safe than sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, that kind of wraps up talking about divorce and some other kind of sticky situations that we just want to deal with up front.
Yep.
We hope you enjoyed watching All Things Real Estate and More with AnnRileyCaldwell. To learn more about Ann Riley, or for your real estate needs, Visit notyourordinaryagent.com or call 615-930-0313. Thanks for watching.